I love how certain things never change. For some reason, this always happens, and I still don't know how to fix it. But whatever. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. Welcome to a new edition of the weekly Astro forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So, this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So, I know I wasn't here last week. There was some technical issues. There was a thunderstorm and it knocked out the Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi was kind of shaky. So I was like, I'm not even going to chance it. So let me just skip last week. And also, things are kind of changing around here. Okay. So last week, I launched what I like to call DFW 2.0. So this is the next iteration of Divine Feminine Works. I have new and different offerings, and I'm just really I'm not going to say I'm in a better place. I am in a better place, but I've gotten more clear on how better to serve you. And so my new offerings, workshops, and a lot that I've got coming down the road is really reflective of that. So if you haven't already, check out my website, www.divinefeminineworks.com. Whether you want a reading, you want to attend a workshop, you want more information, it's this whole new world that's waiting for you to frolic and discover it. All right. So head over to the website and check out everything that we've got going on. And in that vein, these weekly astro forecasts are going to change a little bit as well. All right. So I'd like to say that I like to think that I am informative, right? And I guess you guys can tell me otherwise. But I also realize that sometimes I can give you guys a lot of information, right? So in the past, if you're new here, these weekly astro forecasts, I would go through every transit for the week, right? In order to get you prepared, in order to help you understand how, it would affect you and all of that stuff. I put everything on do not disturb, but family is texting right now, so that's what you hear. Right. So, I felt like perhaps I was overloading you with information. And so these weekly forecasts from here on out are going to be a little more streamlined, but a lot more impactful, because I really want to boil it down to the essence of what you need to know for the week and not just throw a whole bunch of transits and information at you, but let you know what best to prepare for, and most importantly, how best to use the energy. All right. So these new weather astrology reports are going to be streamlined in that way. So I'm really excited to be bringing this to you. And so hopefully this information is a lot more digestible rather than especially during those weeks when we would have like 10 or 12 different transits, it would be a lot for me. And so I know that at times it was probably a little bit too much for you too. So hopefully you guys like this new format and the way that I'm bringing it to you. I'm always open to feedback. So let me know, at the end of this broadcast, if you like it, if you have any suggestions. I always want to do right by you. And I always want to really give you information that you could use, not just throw things at you. So with that being said, let's get into this week. All right. But before we do, of course, the one thing that's not going to change is housekeeping and announcements. So if you are joining me here on the live this evening, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you. Hit up the chat, say hello, and tell everybody what your sun sign is. All right. We're building a little community here. Let's all get to know each other. Let's engage. Let's be chatty. Hit up the chat, say hi, and let us all know what your sun sign is. All right. And also, don't forget to hit that like button on your way in, please. And thank you. It is the best way to support the channel. It lets the algorithm know that you like this content so it can distribute it to other people who may like it and may benefit from it as well. All right. And if you're watching this on the replay, I sincerely appreciate you just as much. Hopefully, you get what you're looking for out of this broadcast. Hopefully, you get to understand astrology better. You get to understand what's going on this week. You get to prepare, and hopefully, it's presented to you in a very nice, palatable package. All right. And if you find that that is the case, hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell as well. Thanks. All right. So, in terms of this week, on Wednesday, June 11th, I have my monthly workshop for the month, which is called Speak It Into Existence. All right. We're still in the midst of Gemini season. And so we are going to learn how to use our own natal Mercury placements in order to really manifest the things that we want. Okay. And so it's not even so much about manifestation hacks and techniques. This is about understanding how you specifically manifest. Because if one thing is for certain, there's so much information out there that's so generalized. It's basically telling everyone to do the same. But just like school, not everyone learns the same. And when you look at everyone's natal chart, not everyone manifests the same. Mercury is a planet of communication, ideas. When we're talking about manifesting, and we're talking about speaking things into existence, that is the realm of Mercury. So what does your Mercury placement not only say about you and your communication style, but also how you manifest? And that's going to be the topic for this month's workshop. And again, it's going down on this Wednesday, June 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right. So the link will be in the description box below and also tagged to this video, so that you can attend. All right. And even if you don't attend, you will be able to get the replay. All right. So definitely take advantage of that. All right. So let's see who we've got in the house tonight. So we've got Scorpio Muse. Hello, hello, hello. And they say blessings to you all. And Mel, Scorpio is your sun sign. Oh, I love Scorpio energy. I'm a Scorpio Venus, and I'm really in my Scorpio era right now. So I really, really, really resonate with Scorpio energy. So I love that. We've also got Patricia Jean, who is here, who is laughing her ass off. Not sure why, but okay. Oh, I know why she's laughing. She's probably laughing at all the text messages that are coming through and dinging. Okay, gotcha. All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So this is a week where we have a major planetary ingress, okay? It's one of the outer planets. And so when an outer planet changes signs, also in astrology jargon known as an ingress, it's definitely a very visceral energy shift. And this energy shift is quite possibly one of the best energy shifts that we can experience, okay? And it starts today. And so you may have already started feeling it. You may be excited because it may be happening in a house for you that is really going to see a lot of positivity and abundance. All right. And so when we talk about the theme for this week, Patricia Jean says, hi, Libra here. Perfect. Okay. Libra sun. I love that. I've got a Libra stellium, so I very much understand Libra energy as well. All right. And so when we talk about the theme for this week, I sort of boiled it down to this. It is rain, revelations, and revelry. All right. And so what that essentially means is there is going to be a lot of emotions. Emotions are actually going to start taking a front seat beginning now and for the next year. Okay. Because Jupiter has just entered Cancer today. And while Cancer is a watery, emotional sign, Jupiter in Cancer is like raining blessings. Okay. It is the best placement for Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted there. And so after a year of Jupiter being in Gemini, right, with this busybody energy, and Jupiter is not comfortable in Gemini. So this past year, Jupiter has been uncomfortable. It hasn't necessarily been able to give us the abundance the way that we either anticipated or that we expect it to, right? You know, when you talk about Jupiter in astrology, it's the greater benefic, it's the abundance planet. It's almost like the Midas touch planet, right? Like everything it touches turns to gold. And so while Jupiter was in Gemini, a lot was going on, but perhaps things weren't turning into gold. Things perhaps were a little mixy, a little all over the place. Maybe you were getting an abundance of things, but maybe not an abundance of good things, right? That's how Jupiter works when it's debilitated in a sign like Gemini. But now that it's moving into Cancer, its sign of exaltation, it's like rain. But you know that beautiful summer rain where it's hot outside. Here in Florida, we get this kind of rain on a daily basis, but it could be like a quick shower, but it's refreshing. It cools everything down. You can smell the earth. Like that is how Jupiter in Cancer is going to rain blessings on us. So that's the rain. Revelations. The revelations are going to come via one of the other major transits that's going to affect us this week, which is Venus square Pluto. Okay, now revelations can kind of be a little triggering and a little jarring. And that's kind of how this transit is going to present itself to us. Okay. When you think about, like, let's say you think about the book of Revelations. Patricia Jean says it wasn't me texting. I know it wasn't you texting. I know who was texting, but I'm just like, this person is just rapid fire texting. But anyway, when you hear the word revelations, right, immediately for me, it sparked like revelations from the Bible, right? And I don't know about you, but that book in the Bible was like low key kind of scary and intense, right? It was like talking about the apocalypse and the end of the world and all of these. Is that the book of Revelations? I think so. But in any event, Pluto square or Venus square Pluto, I should say, is going to bring some revelations. It's this very truth telling kind of transit where you kind of have to see things for how they are before things can change. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be doom and gloom, but it's not necessarily going to be perhaps roses and rainbows either. All right. Then we have revelry. Revelry is also sort of within the realm of revelations. All right. And that has to do with the full moon in Sagittarius, which is happening this Wednesday, June 11th, right? Sagittarius is very much concerned with the truth. Okay. Truth from a higher perspective. It's like a higher level of consciousness. And with this full moon illuminating everything, there's going to be quite a bit of truths revealed this week, right? And because Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, that is now going to be in its sign of exaltation, there is going to be this energy of optimism, of truth from a higher level, higher consciousness, right? That we can revel in. We're kind of moving away from this very detailed and granular energy, and we're setting our sights on something higher, on something bigger, on something more expansive. So if there was anything that I would really say to you about the energy this week, right, that's really important for you to know, is that whatever you're seeing, whatever you're experiencing, it is meant to grow and expand you and transform certain situations in your life. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to hurt or be painful. Although when we're talking about Pluto, things may get a little dirty, they may get a little ugly, not even gonna lie to you, but this is like blessing in disguise, right? It's like silver lining, okay? And so that's the best way to really go into this week is saying, listen, I understand the universe has some things to show me, right? They could be the truth of a situation. And the truth doesn't mean the ugly truth, right? It's not like surprise, you're being cheated on, or surprise, you lost your job. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that. It's more so, hey, this is a part of you that you've been ignoring. Or, hey, this is an obstacle that you haven't really been focused on, but I need you to see it so that you can focus on it so that you can change it or you can eradicate it, right? There may be a little bit of triggering, but it's definitely not doom and gloom, all right? So for the week, rain, revelations, and revelry. All right. And so the one thing I should say in terms of the format of this now is that after we go through what's important for the week, every week we're going to do a Q&A. So whether you have questions about your natal chart, astrology generally, or the astrology for the week, we're going to open the floor up for questions. All right. So start thinking about what you want to ask And we'll get to that later on in the broadcast. All right. But in terms of the theme, that is where we are at. All right. So let's get into the first of the transits for the week. That's really important. And like I mentioned, it's Jupiter entering Cancer. And this is a very, very big deal. And in terms of the cosmic weather, you're going to want to view this as a sun shower. Okay. I like putting it in terms of weather because that's what we can understand. If I told you that it was going to be sunny tomorrow and 85 degrees, you'd be like, okay, it's great for me to plan a beach day. But if I told you it was going to be a tsunami, you might want to get an umbrella or run for cover, either or. But I like these little weather analogies. So just go with it. All right. So Jupiter entering Cancer, sun showers. All right. And like I mentioned before, this is raining blessings on us, right? Jupiter, like I said, is exalted in Cancer. And so it's the best placement for Jupiter. Jupiter can be the best that it can possibly be. So when it comes to Jupiter-like things, which is abundance, which is expansion, these things are going to be on a level 10 in a good way, right? Not so much in the same way it was when Jupiter was in Gemini. But here's the thing that I want you to remember is that Jupiter will always amplify everything. And in a sign like Gemini, it was amplifying our communication. It was amplifying our thoughts, right? You may have had 1,000,001 thoughts, 1,000,001 conversations. You wanted to learn 1,000,001 things. I feel like Jupiter in Gemini was like, you have like 40 tabs open on your internet browser, right? That's definitely emblematic of Jupiter in Gemini. So it amplified Gemini-like things. When Jupiter is in Cancer, it amplifies emotions. And so if you are someone who's not comfortable with emotions, if you cannot regulate your emotions, you may find that Jupiter in Cancer just has you all over the place, emotionally dysregulated, feeling things on a level 10, right? But you have to understand that wherever Jupiter is where the abundance lies. And so the abundance lies in your emotions. So while I do want to say it serves you to have good emotions, this is not an invitation to, have like toxic positivity. That's not what I mean by this. What I mean by this is that your emotions are what move things all the time, whether Jupiter is in Cancer or not. But now that Jupiter is in Cancer, it's like the key to abundance is your emotions. And so that key can unlock a myriad of doors, but your emotions will determine what's behind those doors. So if you are tapped into the emotions of love, of gratitude, of joy, of those things, the keys, what's behind the doors that you're unlocking are going to be things that make you joyful, right? Abundance and abundance of love and all of those good things. However, if you are really stuck in negative emotions, those keys are going to open doors that have despair, that have sadness behind them. So the key to abundance is your emotions. And Jupiter just wants to bless you with things that make you feel good, right? But understand how Cancer energy works. It's not just about, I feel good, I have it. Remember, Cancer is the nurturer. It's about cultivating and nurturing those emotions. I think in one of my last videos, I was talking about how whenever you talk about a particular sign, like in this case, Cancer, but in any case, when you're talking about any zodiac sign, you're also inherently talking about its sister sign or its opposite sign, because the sign you're talking about and its opposite sign share qualities, right? And when you think about the zodiac signs that way, it makes learning them a lot easier. And you sort of learn more in depth about the energy rather than just buzzwords when it comes to each sign, right? And so the sister sign to Cancer is Capricorn. And the thing that Capricorn and Cancer, one of the things that they have in common is commitment. Capricorn is committed to doing the work, right? Capricorn will work. Capricorn is very status and success oriented. So it's really willing to roll up its sleeves, get to work, be disciplined, and do all that. The way that Cancer commits, you might even call the commitment that Cancer exudes as devotion. Cancer is devoted to nurturing things. The one of the things that Cancer and Capricorn understand is the element of time. You understand that when you plant a seed, you don't immediately enjoy the fruit. You have to tend to that seed. You have to plant it, water it. You have to make sure that the soil is okay. You have to prune it, right? Until it gets to the place where it can produce fruit. That takes time. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is all about time and delays. So both Capricorn and Cancer understand time and commitment, and that things that are valuable, things that you love, things that you gestate, they need time and they need attention. So Jupiter isn't just going to bless you because you're feeling happy on a random ass Tuesday. Okay. Jupiter is going to bless you when you cultivate certain emotions. Now, also understand that cultivating emotions isn't just about, okay, it's like I'm devoted to feeling good. I'm devoted to being grateful. I'm devoted to finding joy in my life, but also understand something very important about Cancer energy. It sets boundaries. Cancer is all soft, but when you look at the symbology for Cancer, it is a crab. A crab is not soft on the outside, and a crab will fucking stab you. It will shank you. It will, it will harm you if you get too close, if you violate it, right? Just like a mama bear. A mama bear will fucking maul you if you get near its kids. Your emotions and the things that you're devoted to cultivating, those are your kids. Those are the things that you are gestating. And when you commit and are devoted to gestating these things, oh, Jupiter is going to bless you tenfold. Tenfold. So that's why I said this is like raining blessings, but there's work involved. Like I said, it's not just like, oh, I'm happy. Okay, cool. You're happy one day. And then if you're on an emotional roller coaster, it's also going to be a little difficult for Jupiter to bless you. Because Jupiter's like, I don't know, like one day you're feeling good. The next day you're cursing this thing. One day you're tending to the seeds. The next day you're just like, fuck it. I don't want to do this anymore. Like you have to be devoted. Even on the days where it's hard, even on the days also, again, Jupiter is going to amplify these emotions. So everything that you're feeling is going to be on a 10. So some days you're going to feel like you're on 100. You're so hyped. You're so great. And the next day you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. This is triggering. Try to keep an even keel with those emotions. Okay. And that's how Jupiter is going to bless you. So if you want something, feel like you already have it. And this is sort of a precursor to Cancer season, right? Which is happening later on in the month. The thing with Gemini was like, speak it into existence. Cancer is feel it into existence. What does it feel like to have this thing? And cultivate that feeling of having it. That's how Jupiter is going to bless you. Oh, respectful cicada, you are right on time. I'm glad you made it too. Okay. So with each transit, I'm also going to give you what I like to call an energetic advisory. Okay. So what can you do with this energy rather than just tell you, oh, okay, Jupiter's going to bless you. How can you work with this energy? Now, I already said, feel it, right? Feel it into existence. All right. But here's the thing also. Remember that Cancer is a feminine water sign. So it's not even just about nurturing. You have to also focus on receiving. And I know sometimes that can sound super simplistic because we want things and we think we know how to receive them. But guess what? Sometimes we don't. Hello, come to mama. Peace to you as well. Sometimes we don't know how to receive things. Sometimes we're just like, I want this thing. And then when it shows up, we're just like, I don't have room for it, or I don't know how to act right, or is this thing real? I don't believe that it showed up, right? There's a myriad of reasons why we don't receive. Receiving requires surrender. And I think sometimes that's why it can be super difficult, because we're so conditioned on the doing part, the hustling part, the doing part. We don't leave any energetic room for receiving, because receiving requires you to sit still. It requires you to just open your hands and take, right? Let things fall into your hands. How weird does that feel sometimes? Let's be honest. That shit can feel hella weird sometimes, because you feel like, I'm not doing enough. Do I really deserve this? Is there more that I have to do? If I receive this, is it going to be taken away? Like, the energetic advisory for this particular transit, and mind you, Jupiter is going into Cancer today and it's lasting for a year. Okay, Jupiter spends about a year in every sign. So this isn't something that you have to master in one day. But understand that over the next 12 months, it's about cultivating certain emotions, being devoted to cultivating and nurturing those emotions, and being comfortable and focusing on receiving. As much as you nurture, make energetic room to receive. And Jupiter is going to make your life 100 times better. So I want you to look to see where Jupiter is in your natal chart. This is where it's all going down. All right, this could be for money. This could be for relationships. This could be for work. This could be for friendship, right? But again, to reiterate, cultivate the emotions, nurture the emotions, and focus on receiving. It starts today and it lasts until next year around this time. So get comfortable. It's going to be a very interesting ride, but a good one nonetheless. Okay? So let's move on to the second transit for the week, and that is Venus square Pluto. And for this is kind of stormy. Okay, this is like a thunderstorm. Not necessarily the best feeling transit, but quite the impactful transit, if I do say so myself. All right, so anytime we've got Pluto in the mix, things get intense. Okay. And Venus just entered her home sign of Taurus. So she is feeling herself, meaning that Venus like topics, so money, relationships, fairness, equality, art, beauty, all of these things are very much in focus and very potent right now, especially things like money. Okay, money, finances, there's an undercurrent of that that's happening right now that's very highlighted. And so Venus in Taurus, she wants to look good. She wants to eat well. She wants to relax. She wants to be cozy. She wants to really go to the spa, spend money, go shopping. She wants to do all of that. And that's what she's prepared to do for the next month. But then here comes Pluto, and Pluto was like, Pluto's kind of putting a wet blanket on everything, in the sense that Pluto is going to show you what your real money situation is like, what your real self-worth is like, what your self-esteem is really looking like. You could be out here flexing and looking good and wearing the best makeup, but underneath you feel like shit. Or maybe you think of yourself in a very shitty kind of way. And Pluto's going to bring that up. You out here flexing and buying and really engaging in retail therapy. Meanwhile, Pluto was like, girl, you barely have 2 nickels to rub together. What are you doing? Or Pluto was like, girl, do you really think that buying this is going to make you feel better? You're going to buy it and you're still going to feel like shit. Okay. Pluto is going to give you the real. Okay. At a time when the real may not be what you want to hear. However, you cannot change things if you don't see things for what they are in that moment. And this is honestly something that I know I've personally struggled with, especially once you get into the rabbit hole of manifestation, particularly manifestation content. They're like, circumstances don't matter. And to a certain extent, they don't, but to a certain extent, they do. They matter because if you're in a really shitty situation, putting a band aid on something is not going to change it. You got to go down into the root. You got to get out the rot, throw it out, and now you're in a healthier state, right? You can say all the affirmations you want, but if the underlying belief is still running amok in your subconscious, guess what you're going to manifest? And that's kind of how this particular transit plays out. It wants you to live your best life. Don't get me wrong. Pluto's not here to just extinguish your fire, but Pluto wants you to do it in the right way, right? Maybe you're shopping all the time because you're really depressed. And Pluto's going to be like, I need you to see this depression. Like, I need you to understand the root cause of why you're shopping a lot. Or maybe you're a little less than proactive, right? Maybe you're a little lazy. Maybe you're not as go-getter as you need to be, but you want to live the high life, right? You want caviar on a tuna fish budget, and Pluto's going to be like, friend, I think you need to work a little harder. Like, I think you need to actually work. That kind of a thing. Okay. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say with this and how Pluto squaring Venus is going to work. Oh no, that's Mo. Finally caught alive in the right spot. Yes. Hello. Thank you so much for joining. So yeah, Pluto just wants you to see the real so that you can change it. That's where true transformation lies. Again, it's not just putting a band-aid over something. It's not just skipping it and saying, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just manifest something new. No, if you have an underlying belief that sabotages or that can sabotage whatever it is that you really want, Pluto is going to call that to your attention. All right, to make sure that everything is on the up and up. So that if you're engaging in retail therapy, it's because you're coming from a place of abundance and you feel good and you've got the money, right? Or even in relationships, you're people pleasing from a place of lack and you're just, going along to get along. And Pluto's going to be like, this is not working for you. You keep saying yes when you mean no. You keep agreeing to things that you don't really want. You keep betraying yourself. I can't let you do that anymore. Remember, Pluto's in Aquarius now. And Pluto in Aquarius is all about the future. Pluto in Aquarius wants you to have a futuristic mindset. So, when in doubt, here's the energetic advisory for this particular transit. And this is an exercise that I find super helpful that I like to do every so often. If you find that you're in a situation that you don't necessarily like, I want you to, number one, envision a better future. And number two, I want you to think from your future self. Okay? So let's use the example of a relationship. You're in a relationship and you're people pleasing. You're going along to get along. You're agreeing to things you don't really want. You're not necessarily saying things. You're afraid of confrontation. And it's like on the outside, things may look good, but on the inside, you're quietly seething and you're miserable. Now, what do you want? You want a healthy relationship. You want a relationship where you can be yourself, where you can express yourself without having it be a whole blow up, where you get what you want, all of the things, right? So there's a version of you already that lives that. What would that version of you that already has that say about the version of you now? Sometimes it's helpful if you write like a letter from your future self to you in the present. If you want to get fancy with it, you can either I like to do voice notes on my phone, Or sometimes I'll even do like a video diary where I'll just turn on the video on my phone and record it. But what would your future self say to your present self? In the example I just gave, your future self would say, hey, what are you doing? You know you don't want to do that. You know you don't like his friends, and having his friends stay the weekend is going to grate your nerves. So say no. Now, that might bring up a whole host of other things, right? Now it's bringing up your abandonment issues. Now it's making you feel insecure because you don't know if he's going to break up with you because you're speaking your mind. That's exactly how Pluto works. Pluto is going to get to the very, very root of the problem and bring it up to the surface so that you can see where the problem lies and so that you can change it. So again, the exercise for this, what would your future self say to your present self? And I encourage you to flesh out this exercise, meaning don't just think in your mind, okay, my future self will say this. Like, I want you to carve out some time. It doesn't have to be a whole big thing, but just 15 minutes. You could do it on your notes app. You could, whatever works for you. What would my future self say to me now? My future self that has the shit that I want, that's in the relationship, that has the money, that has a great sense of self-esteem. What would they say to me now? What advice would they give to me now? Do that. It's very helpful and very eye-opening. And that's how you take advantage of the energy. And that's how you actually transform. You can't transform if you can't see what's at the root of the issue. And Venus is square Pluto is really, really, really going to help you do that. All right. So that's that. And then moving right along to the next transit that's really important this week is the full moon in Sagittarius, which is happening on Wednesday. So I just did a dedicated video for that. Link is in the description box below. Check it out so you know exactly what to expect for this full moon. But this full moon is going to be very truth-telling. And essentially, because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter just went into its sign of exaltation, which is Cancer, which just means Jupiter's in the best place possible. This full moon is going to be very potent. And I don't know about you, I've been feeling the effects of this full moon since last week. Some of the things that I've been seeing and witnessing are very much in alignment with the energy of this full moon. Now, what boiling it down to its essence, this full moon is going to show you where you've been playing small or where you have been limiting yourself, or perhaps where external circumstances or people have limited you. What would my future self say to me now? Yep, that's exactly the exercise for this week in terms of Venus square Pluto. Yeah, so where have you been playing small or where are you limited? And this full moon is going to put this on Front Street, right? So consider this as very sunny weather. This is like noon in the middle of summer. I'm just writing it so I'll remember. I got you, no worries. This is like noon in the middle of summer. Very, very sunny. Okay. And so this is going to put all of that on Front Street. Where have you been self-sabotaging? Where have you been standing in your own way? Where have you been narrow-minded? Where have you been unwilling to move out of your comfort zone? You know, Sagittarius is the sign of wanderlust. It's the sign of traveling. It's the sign of adventure, right? And so maybe this full moon is really urging you to embark upon a new adventure. Maybe this is the time for you to literally take a trip, maybe plan a trip, or maybe it's time for you to take the brakes off of your mind and allow yourself to experience different things. Allow yourself to entertain different viewpoints. Allow yourself to see things from different vantage points. That mental constriction, that mental limitation could be what is keeping you stuck, even if you don't realize that you're stuck. You may want certain things, but you're like, I don't understand why I'm not getting them because I'm doing the work, I'm doing this. It might be your mindset. Or conversely, it might be fear. Fear is very much a limiting factor. Fear keeps us small, it keeps us in a box, it keeps us in our comfort zone. It keeps the blanket over our head so we don't see anything else. And this full moon in Sagittarius is really going to shine a very, very bright light on all of that. So pay attention to where Sagittarius is in your natal chart. This is where it's all going down. But regardless of where Sagittarius is in your natal chart, this is going to show you, like I said, where you've been limited, where you've been playing small, where you've boxed yourself into a corner, where you're stuck even, maybe even where you're stagnant, right? Could also show you where you need a little more adventure in your life, where you need a little more excitement, a little more spontaneity. This full moon may have you doing something spontaneous, or something spontaneous may pop up in your reality that you kind of just can't ignore and that you want to take advantage of. There's a certain level of optimism, spontaneity, and even a little fun and passion with this full moon. But by and large, the information that comes up is very valuable because you can immediately use it for your self expansion, for your personal development. The information this full moon could be the information you need to go to the next level. It could be the cheat code that unlocks a new level in this game of life for you. But you have to be willing to see it, and you have to be willing to act on it. Remember, Sagittarius is a fire sign. Fire signs are concerned with action. While this is a time of observation, because that's what the full moon is. It's not when we manifest, it's when we observe. But this is going to show you where, when it is time to take action, that you should take action, and perhaps even what actions to take. So very powerful, very eye-opening. And like I said before, Sagittarius is very much about truth, but truth from a very high level, a high vantage point, higher mind, right? The higher mind, higher consciousness. So much can be gained at this full moon in terms of information that you can use for your personal development. So use it as such. So the energetic advisory for full moon in Sagittarius is look and see what the universe is trying to tell you. Allow the universe to inform you how to grow and how to expand. Heed that advice and then act on it when the time is right. Okay. Sagittarius is in my 9th house and in Uranus for me. Okay. Sagittarius 9th house. Sagittarius 9th house is the natural placement for Sagittarius. So that is the house of expansion. So this full moon is going to be extremely expansive for you. So that's a great thing. I like this full moon because again, it kind of gives you the cheat code to unlock the next level, to move forward. And this is what makes life exciting. And that's how I like to look at it. Like, even if we're stretched beyond our comfort zone and it's uncomfortable, right? Or even if we're triggered and we're seeing things we don't necessarily want to see, that's what keeps life interesting. That's what keeps life moving. And so there's a lot of movement this week when it comes to that. All right. So that's that. And then there's an honorable mention that I want to name, which I just want to get you prepared for next week. Mars is going to be entering Virgo, which is somewhat of a big deal. Mars is an outer planet, but Mars doesn't change signs, as frequently as like Mercury or Venus, right? So when Mars changes signs, we viscerally feel it. And for this transit, this is very much like partly cloudy. Not the best, but not necessarily the worst either. Mars in Virgo is about getting to work, getting organized, and getting efficient. It's a lot less than sexy, but it's very necessary if you're going to get your ducks in a row. All right. And so that's kind of what we have to look forward to next week. All right. And those are the transits that you really need to pay attention to for this week. I mean, that's more than enough for us to work with. Jupiter in Cancer, raining blessings, but understand that this is happening over a year. So get comfortable with that. Venus square Pluto is definitely going to bring up some things that may be sabotaging us or things. Venus square Pluto is going to help us get to the root of many things, perhaps things having to do with relationships, money, self worth, and self esteem. And when you know what the root issue is, that's when you can actually change it. And then with the full moon in Sagittarius, everything is getting illuminated, and we get to see how we've been limiting ourselves and what we need to do in order to unlock that next level. So beautiful energy this week. All right. So now we get to the Q&A portion of tonight's broadcast. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. Let me know if you want to know anything. This week, I'm keeping it fairly vague because this is the first time I'm doing this. However, you'll definitely want to check the community tab on the channel, because prior to every week's live, I will be posting options in terms of questions and different prompts so that when we get to this section of the broadcast, we're kind of not just randomly all over the place. All right. There'll be some polls and we're going to make this fun and very informative. So if you guys have any questions so far, please let me know. If not, I have a question for you. So, of the transits that are transpiring this week, which one are you looking forward to the most? Is it Jupiter entering Cancer? Is it Venus square Pluto? Or is it the full moon in Sagittarius? So, cast your vote, put it in the chat. Let me know what you think while I get some water. And of course, it's okay if you guys don't have any questions. This is the first time I'm doing this, so it'll be a little more structured as we move along. Okay. I see that nobody has any questions. Oh, there we go. Repeat that. Oh, okay. So, my question to you for tonight is, which of this week's transits are you looking forward to most? Is it Jupiter in Cancer? Is it Venus square Pluto? Or is it the full moon in Sagittarius? All right. So, we've got full moon in Sag. Agreed. That's what I'm looking forward to the most as well. Like I said before, I've been feeling this energy since last week, and the things that have become illuminated have been interesting, to say the least, but very valuable in terms of the information. Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts, questions? All right, no worries. If not, oh, there we go. Definitely the full moon. Yes. Yes. I love the fact, again, that it's in Sagittarius, because regardless of whatever is transpiring, I feel like there's a certain level of hope and optimism with it. So, whatever information you're learning, whatever the universe is trying to show you, it's like getting you to see the bigger picture. So get excited about the bigger picture. Even if the details don't necessarily seem the best in this moment, the bigger picture is what this full moon wants you to focus on. Okay. We also have Jupiter in Cancer. Yes, that's also a great one. That's more of a slow burn since it's going to be an entire year, but again, Jupiter in Cancer, that's the best placement for Jupiter. So the blessings, it's going to be blessings on blessings on blessings, provided that you do the emotional work. But if you do, it's like Jupiter is going to bless you tenfold. Okay. Venus is squaring my Pluto. My Venus is in Libra and Pluto is in Scorpio. What will this mean for me? Okay, so Venus square Pluto, the transit is Venus is currently in Taurus and Pluto is currently in Aquarius. So the energy is sort of what I described before with Venus in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius. I want to put your comment up again. Your Venus in Libra and Pluto is in Scorpio. Okay. So for you, it's not necessarily going to work out in terms of, so depending on so you have Pluto and Scorpio, right? Depending on where your Scorpio is, Natal Venus, so Venus that's currently in not natal Venus, transiting Venus, which is currently in Taurus, is actually going to be opposite your Pluto. So for you, depending on which house Scorpio is for you, you're going to have Pluto opposite Virgo. Okay. It's a little bit different energy, but sort of along the same lines. But for you, you're going to feel it quite intensely because whenever we have oppositions, when a transiting planet is opposite one of our natal planets, that's a very significant energy shift for us. Okay, so for you, depending on which house Scorpio is in your natal chart, transiting Venus is going to be opposing it. So that's going to be a lot of transformation, a lot of things coming to the surface, right? It can be a very triggering and emotional kind of transit for you. So just understand that this too shall pass, and whatever comes up is really meant to be ameliorated. So don't ignore it, don't shove it under the rug. Process through it and use it and transmute it into whatever it is that you want. That's the best way to use the energy. Okay. Next question. How do you think this week will look in politics? Oh, girl, I try to stay out of that because it is already a lot. It's already a lot. And I try not to do forecasting in terms of politics because that's just not my area of expertise when it comes to astrology. But yeah, I mean, we're at a time where things are looking very crazy. Uranus is actually about to leave Taurus and go into Gemini in July. And so the build up to that is things, all I'll say is this: things are going to get a lot crazier. A lot crazier come, summertime. But forecasting for politics is definitely not my thing. She said, thank you. I shall ride the waves. Yes. Sagittarius is my 8th house. Okay. So this full moon is going to be highlighting things that are very hidden, things that are taboo in your life. The 8th house covers mysteries. It covers the occult. It covers intimacy and shared resources. So this could be highlighting an intimate relationship. This could be highlighting a shared resources issue, like a mortgage or a tax or a loan or debt or something like that. It could also be highlighting something of the occult. But with the full moon happening in your 8th house, this could really be uncovering a secret of some sort of thing that has been hidden that's really going to come to light. So pay attention to that. So politics is very ghetto right now. Absolutely. Will it be a great week for creative projects since Jupiter is in Cancer? So interesting. So Jupiter is not necessarily the creativity planet. That's like Neptune and Venus. Um it's not to say that it would be bad for creativity. I just feel like creativity wouldn't be the focus. I feel like creativity would be the byproduct. So if you're focused on feeling expansive, if you're focused on receiving, right? Because that's one of the things that we want to focus on when Jupiter is in Cancer. We want to focus on receiving. It's like you're leaving space for creativity to enter. You're leaving space for downloads. You're leaving space for spirit to enter, right? And so then that's how the creativity will come about. I feel like the creativity is the abundance that Jupiter may bestow upon you, but it's not necessarily going to be the focus because, again, Jupiter isn't necessarily the creativity planet. So hopefully that makes sense. And you say I have a lot of Cancer placements. Yeah, Jupiter is about to touch all of those. So apart from just blessing, I want you to remember that Jupiter expands everything. So if you have a lot of natal Cancer placements, the energy of those planets are going to become larger than life. So let's say you've got Mercury in Cancer, right? When Jupiter goes through Cancer and touches your Mercury, communication is going to get louder. It's going to get more intuitive. It's just going to get more, period. It's like, think of like a balloon, right? And blowing up a balloon, that's how Jupiter works. So if you have planetary placements in Cancer, Jupiter is really going to expand those. So be mindful, right? Because the thing about Jupiter is, while it is the planet of abundance and it is a planet of blessings, it can also be the planet of excess and overindulgence. And so if you get carried away, Jupiter can have you getting really carried away. Remember, I said if you are on like this emotional roller coaster, it's like Jupiter is just going to expand that. So the highs are going to be even higher and the lows are going to be even lower. So do your best to also practice moderation with Jupiter, right? Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. With Jupiter was in Gemini, right? For me, Gemini is my second house of money. The ideas, I mean, I talked about how I just launched Divine Feminine Works 2.0. That is a product of Jupiter in Gemini in my second house for a year. The amount of ideas that I had was insane. At one point, I found it so difficult to focus because it's like I literally had 40 tabs open. I had notebooks full of notes and ideas, and I want to do this and I want to do that. And at one point, I had to rein it in and I had to say, listen, let's just focus on this. This is the core that we're going to do. We're going to execute that, then move on to the next, right? You have to practice moderation with Jupiter. And in Cancer, it could really have you on an emotional roller coaster. It could really have you feeling a lot. And if you don't know how to emotionally regulate in a healthy way, if you just allow yourself to get carried away, it's like the ocean. It could literally carry you away. So be mindful of that. I get it. I was thinking about how my emotions really tend to inspire creativity for me. Yeah. So I feel like Jupiter is going to give you more emotions, and the creativity is going to be a byproduct of that. Eek. Yeah. Great warning. Thank you. It's in my third house. What's in your third house? Is that Sagittarius? Oh, Gemini is your third house. Okay. Oh, so Gemini in your third house with Jupiter there, that was a lot of communication. There could have been a lot of stuff going on in your immediate environment. There could have been a lot of stuff going on with siblings or extended family members, a lot of learning. Like, Jupiter in Gemini in the third house is like, I want to take cooking classes. I want to learn how to be a graphic designer. I want to take guitar. Like, it's like wanting to learn a million and one things. It's also, I want to say Jupiter in Gemini in the third house could have really been like serial entrepreneur kind of energy, where you've got like 6 different businesses, you're transacting businesses for across different fields and different industries. Like, it's just a lot of activity. I call the third house the busybody house. And when you put Jupiter in there, you probably had a very busy year. Things could have been very chaotic. There could have been just a lot of activity, particularly in your neighborhood with people around you. Like, Jupiter and Gemini was definitely doing the most. I've been even more emotional than usual since this weekend. Yeah, that lead up into today, which is when Jupiter enters Cancer, is like, it's this switch, right? Jupiter in Gemini was very mental, very cerebral. And now the switch is turned and now we're dropping into our emotions. And so imagine like when you're on a roller coaster, right? And you're at the peak and then all of a sudden there's that drop. So some of us have been in our feelings and really, feeling things right now. So get comfortable with that. Because again, remember, that is where the abundance lies. Okay, got all my themed journals at the ready. Yes, I love that. Yes, journaling is I love journaling. So yes, I love that. All right, my loves. She said it was terrible as far as my friendships, my work was hectic for sure. Yeah, that the Gemini third house with Jupiter there, it's the definition of hectic. Definition of hectic. And, third house, while the 11th house covers friendships generally, your third house covers like your schoolmates. So sometimes I like to think of third house as like friends that are like in your immediate vicinity. So there could have been a lot of stuff with that. So that definitely tracks. That makes sense. All right, my loves. So that's all I got for you today for this week's weekly astro forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into this week. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know in the comments how you like this new format. If you like it, if you have any suggestions, just let me know. All right, I'd appreciate it. All right, my loves, thank you so much. I wish you nothing but the absolute best going into this week and beyond. And I will see you next week, same time, same place, same energetic forecast. All right, my loves, have a great week. Take care.